Welcome back, my friends, to the Predictive Playbook. Before we started this, we were 4, and now we are 3. I think Tony Finn is coming back to the show. Somehow he got kicked off. I'm not really sure why. He couldn't have left his house by much because they would have pulled him over. But he'll be back. He'll be back. He'll be back.
Maybe.
And I said,
maybe.
Do you guys realize we went 3-0 last night?
And that's supposed to be something special?
3-0. And guess what I did last night? I went 3-0 also.
That's special?
Yeah, so when the show goes 3-0, then I go 3-0.
Listen, we're only as good as the picks we give out here in about 10 minutes. And yesterday means nothing.
I can't even bask in the glory for like 10 seconds.
You can if you want, but you're going to get sunburned. It's going to hurt. That's it.
Look at my screen in the background of Bitcoin. I mean, it's on fire.
Bitcoin's on fire again?
No, but Steve Merrill and I are starting to get a little bit bullish. We did a show today, and we're cutting down our shows, actually. We're doing like 3 or 4 5-minute shows. Recorded, and then I load them up instead of doing it live.
Guess what?
And it works a lot better.
That's what this show is for me is going to become, because I'm running out of time. I'm running out of every single thing, everything. I've been out of Quaaludes for 30 years. I got no problem.
30 years? It might have been
30.
3 minutes. 3 minutes.
30
tops.
years. The only thing I got is Mexican bootleg Quaaludes. That's all.
Oh, well, it's still the same, I hear.
Well, John,
here in the East Coast, we have things called
everything you hear.
In the East Coast, we have things called pharmacies.
Yeah, I know.
And then there's a guy dressed like a doctor that knows everything there is to know about drugs.
Let me tell you a story that is so not sports related that is crazy. It may even get me. I'll tell you this: I have some friends who live in this one's an extraditable country. They live in an extraditable country. It's as close to third world, I think, as you can get. And if I told you where it was, then those people who live there would also drive by and shoot me a few times on Twitter. But here's the deal. These guys have money, and they hired a scientist. And when they want something for the weekend to go party with, they just put their order in. The scientist makes it for them. Well, they couldn't get Quaaludes right even. Because it's so pathetic. Complex that no wonder it was the GOAT of all drugs.
And that's Quaaludes?
Quaaludes. Methane or Quaalude, something like that. I don't know what it is.
All right, on Jeopardy, I would say, what is Black Beauty?
That's a speed. That's amphetamine.
That's the opposite then. And it had a number too. It was like Black Beauty 386 or something.
No, that's Quaalude 714. Roar 714. Lemon 714.
Yeah, that's right.
Listen, and don't ask me how I know these things.
Poor Adam has no clue to what we're talking about right now. He's too young.
I know what. I literally know what Quaaludes are for Wolf of Wall Street. It's probably the first and last time.
Guess what? And let me tell you, people come to me all the time and say, that's Hollywood. That's exactly what it is. And I'm telling you, the car deal is exactly. It happened to me. It wasn't quite that way. I drove through a gated community. I thought I drove through the whole gate. And when I got home, woke up and my grandfather was from my grandfather in Sin City in Arizona. And he woke me and said, "What the hell happened to your car?" I said, "What do you mean? What happened to my car?" I walked out there. I looked both sides, just ripped where I drove through the gate. And I said, Somebody must have borrowed my car last night. It sure as hell wasn't me. And he said, "What?" I said, "Well, it was me. It was me, Grandpa, but it wasn't me." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I got into your bucket of Quaaludes."
Well, before we get to the sports, Adam hit a soft spot with me, a sore spot.
A sore spot?
The Wolf of Wall Street. Having worked on Wall Street on Wall Street for a little bit more than about 20 years, last position, chief currency strategist. Do you know how many people, when that movie came out, "Oh, John, is that really how it was? Was that your lifestyle?"
We know that's not true.
Close.
John.
Not even close. It was not even close.
But let me tell you, John.
Not even close.
That not your lifestyle. But let me tell you, that was the lifestyle of my boys. That was exactly how they lived. The guys that were professionals, that's exactly how they lived. New cars, couldn't have. In the 80s, money was growing on trees. It's like it couldn't.
Well, that's true.
Stupid. Yeah.
But I was on the institutional side, and that movie was the retail side.
They
were stockbrokers.
Side. Yeah, you were on the smart side.
Well, yeah, you're right. I was on the smart side because you didn't take people. Like one of my accounts was the Harvard Endowment Fund. You didn't take them to strip joints. You took them to a steakhouse.
Maybe
where you could smoke a cigar.
Maybe you should have.
No, they would have dropped me like a hot potato as an account if I would have done that.
How do you know?
You just never crossed that line.
What line is that? Because if I've never, because there's not a line. I don't know if there is a line I have not crossed. There's a few lines I haven't crossed. The old saying, one time in college, I'm not proud of it. That line, never. Okay, let's talk games. Come on.
All right, here we go.
All right.
But The Wolf of Wall Street is not one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, well, neither is Caddyshack 2. But.
Now, Wall Street, Adam, watch that one and then tell me what you think. That was more about what the institutional side was all about.
It was slow. It was slow compared to Wolf of Wall Street. Slow.
Information is the most powerful commodity I know. And it applies to baseball, and it applies to NFL, and it applies to everything. In baseball last night, to recap our plays, the three of us came up with the Phillies on our own in a live breakdown that was not planned, but we got a solid play, and they won. Tony Finn came up with a tremendous analysis on the Tampa Bay Seattle game, and I do remember saying that, you know what, one of those teams is going to score the posted total on their own merit, and Seattle did. And our third pick was
did they score
the Marlins. It was the angle of the day. It was the Marlins as a dog.
Marlins.
Yep.
The fish eaters.
So now our standards are set very high, Adam.
Well, I was going to say it's a good thing I didn't come on yesterday because I took a kind of a bad beat on my one play. I had Diamondbacks plus 1.5, and I got bit by the. It was a plus price too. The plus 1.5 was like plus 115.
That is the. You know something, Adam? You're right. That's the 19th. That was on that game. It's my 19th extra inning game this year. 19th. And guess how many of those? Guess my record is.
Probably not
2 and 17.
15-4. 15 losses, 4 wins.
Well, that's the thing. Like the way I bet, I'm generally never lay minus 1.5, and I rarely bet. Well, I pretty much bailed out on totals at this point because I've always been more of an under better, and there's really no incentive to bet a full game under anymore.
Well, so I would disagree with you on that, but I understand that feeling. I know that. You know what I mean, though.
Like I've probably lost 4 or 5. It's probably the difference between me being up or me being slightly down in baseball this year. How many times I've either lost under in extra innings or lost with the plus 1.5 in extra innings. It's just like.
I don't play plus 1.5. I'm the opposite of you. I'm contrary to you on that. I play minuses. I don't play pluses, but.
On the road, I could never lay minus 1.5 with a home team. It's just goes against my whole.
You don't do that, and you're a smart man. You don't lay 1.5 with a home team.
I'll tell you, with the extra innings rule, if you've got minus 1.5 and you've got the away team, you're very live still.
Extra innings are different. Yeah, extra innings are much different now. Yeah.
It used to be if you got to extras with plus 1.5, it was going to be a really bad beat if you lost. But now, you almost I kind of knew. I was like, we got to end this in regulation one way or the other. I was pretty certain that San Francisco was going to come up in the top of the 10th, and they were probably going to score more than one, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this. This one thing is once I've lost. I typically rarely say another word about it. It's done. Guess what? I'm that's oxygen that I probably should spend. But then that's been a long time coming too, Adam. So
I didn't intend to talk about it, but we
I
started talking
understand.
about yesterday. And
I just told you about my extra innings,
Yeah.
which I don't. It's not what I like to have happen, but it happens.
And of course there was a million runs in the game, and I kind of wanted to fade Scalpani there, and there were, if I had done it basically any other way, with any other over, there was 19 runs in the game. So but we'll try to get back tonight.
I'm on. Listen, I'll tell you this. I'm on a 15-1 totals run right now in baseball.
Yeah, that's true. That's awesome.
And I play a lot of unders. So I'm one of those guys who people will ask me, why do you play more unders than overs? And I say, well, I play what I like. I play what makes sense. But mostly I play unders because I'm a winner before the game even starts.
Yeah, you're a winner until you're a loser with an under.
Yeah. Well, they got to beat me.
Yeah,
they got to beat me. But we talked about this yesterday, Adam, too. We're talking about last year. I thought bullpens were. I thought they were more productive or more efficient this season. But according to John's NRBQ database, New Rhythm and Blues Quartet, it is not true.
Python. That is the correct. Think of it as letters of a radio station. PYTHON. We are live broadcasting on PYTHON.
I'm on NRBQ.
See, I kind of agree. Even though the numbers might say one thing, I kind of agree with Tony. But here's my spin on the whole bullpens. It's I think the front end relievers in a lot of these bullpens are almost unhittable in a sense sometimes, whereas they're just not that deep. So because you have so much swing and miss now, these guys are clearly making their money off of the mediocre starters, the mediocre relievers. So I think bullpens, you get the top 2 or 3 guys in each bullpen that have the sub 1 whip and the really nasty stuff. They'll go out there and you have no chance. But
they'll walk 3 and just tease you. They walk 3 guys, then they get their outs.
Right.
I can name. I won't mention their names, but
go ahead, mention a name.
But the whole thing's just skewed anyway because they came with the substance ban, and it's just baseball's been really tough this year in my opinion.
Oh yeah, listen, it's been tough. It was tough last year, I thought, for myself too. So yeah, I agree with you on that. And I've done, I do everything I can to kind of make adjustments, and I know this. It's not really why I've struggled. The reason I've struggled is simply because that they've limited access to players. And beat writers I have a lot of contacts with. That's how I get a lot of information. Just don't have it. They didn't have it last year, and it's starting to come back a little bit. But onward, upward, buddy. Onward, upward. We'll get them tonight. Mm-hmm. So you're gonna have a free pick winner for the show. John will too.
I do it if you want. I mean, I don't know what order you wanted to go in, but
wherever you want.
I was going to say I have one play for tonight, and it's a 4-unit play. So we'll talk about it now.
Sure, let it rip.
Because I think, I'm still looking at guys that I think have really struggled since the substance ban, if I guess that's what we're going to call it. Mm-hmm. And Garrett Richards is one of those guys that I think was probably definitely using some sort of substance. It was probably making him a mediocre pitcher or I guess we'll call him an average pitcher at best. But since he's been atrocious, and the numbers would agree with that. Even his season numbers, 5.15 ERA is bad. 1.66 WHIP is about as bad as it gets. I think if it's not Garrett Richards and it's someone less known, you're usually getting shipped out with a 1.66 WHIP. And the ERA is probably, I didn't calculate the exact ERA, but it's definitely well over 6 since that substance ban date back in mid-June. So I'm gonna go with the plus 1.5 again tonight. I'm gonna take the plus 1.5 on the Tigers. It's minus 120, and A big reason of that is, I've been trying to fade Garrett Richards. It's been working. He's really hasn't really pitched well in probably since early June. I don't think he's made it 6 innings in a start since June 1st. He's been consistently giving up, 3 earned runs or more in most of his starts. And the Tigers are a very undervalued team at home. A friend of mine gave me this stat earlier, which I thought was really interesting. They've been underdogs 39 times in 54 home games. But in those 39 games, they're 25-14 against the +1.5. And when you wake up this morning, surprisingly, they're only 6 games under 500. Obviously, a 7-game winning streak out of the All-Star break, helped get them sort of back in striking distance. They split with Baltimore over the weekend, but they're also 30-24 at home. So they're playing much better at home. And, I've never been a Willie Peralta guy. I never really loved him in Milwaukee. I don't know that I'm pro Willie Peralta right now, but he's been decent so far this year. And he's only made 2 home starts. So it's a small sample, but he hasn't given up a run in either. So 1.12 whip. He's looked good. Not so much the last couple starts, but I'm going to give him a sort of a pass there because he was on the road, and he was on the road against teams that have seen him. So I think this could be a good spot for Peralta to bounce back tonight. And when you look at the bullpens, the Red Sox have trended down big time in the bullpen department. Their bullpen whip coming into play today is 25th in the league. And now the Tigers are sort of notorious for having a bad bullpen, but they've been better since the All-Star break, and they've been better at home. So I think when I add it all up, I see an advantage starting pitcher-wise, Peralta over Richards. The Red Sox have lost 4. They got swept over the weekend by the Rays, lost 4 of 5. I think it's 5 of 6 actually. I'm wondering if this is finally the regression that I've kind of expected to happen with this Red Sox team. And then the Tigers they've been playing well at home. So if you're going to give me a run head start with the Tigers, I'm going to take it. +1.5. Tigers +1.5, -120. It's also a national TV game, which kind of has me thinking that the action on the Red Sox is a little inflated, which is probably why we're getting such a good price with the Tigers +1.5 at home. So I'm on the Tigers tonight. I'm taking the run head start, and hopefully I can avoid the extra inning disaster like I had yesterday.
Very good. Very good. I like it. I think it's time for the angle of the day for Major League Baseball. Unless, Tony, you want to talk about the PGA Tour event that starts Thursday.
No, we can wait. Well, I really no.
Or
unless it's Tom Kite's involved.
Make sure you watch the 10-meter platform diving, because guess how he could be. He could be. I think he's diminutive enough.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I want to see Tom Kite in a Speedo, but go on.
I mean, you're watching the sport, Tony. You're appreciating the sport, not how they're dressed.
Listen, when I watch sand volleyball, I'm not watching the damn volleyball. Okay, I'm not.
But there's not much else to watch. I mean, those are the smallest uniforms in the history of any sport.
And if you don't wear small uniforms, you will be fined, because that sport has a nice viewing audience, and it's not to watch the volleyball.
So I was thinking of a business plan of bowling leagues using that type of uniform to increase popularity.
Yeah,
all right, here we go. I am riding the Marlins. 7:10 tonight, Tuesday, August 3rd. I'm on them again. I was on them yesterday on this show, and we're going to do it again. So bet on home underdogs between +125 and +175. Can somebody tell me where that line is right now?
Yeah, I'll look at it.
The game is taking place after the All-Star break. The host is batting 0-165 over the last 3 games, which is very easy. So it is above that.
Yeah,
that actually
between
-205.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was that
-207?
Who's starting for Marlins?
It's Nieder. I was going to say Nieder. Was that
all right? So they're. I think they're doing another bullpen. Tony, is that right, Rob? Adam?
would be.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
didn't announce for the longest time today. Now
Right.
they stick Nieder in there, so
That makes
So
sense.
I thought it was going to be Braxton starting, but it's not.
That's definitely why the line's where it is. I was trying to figure that out, but looks like that's probably the
Okay,
case.
as long as we're not below 125, this betting system is still valid, and it actually gets better between 175 and 200. But at the time I did this, it had to be done. So the host is batting just 165 over the last 3 games, which the Mets are incredibly good at. And it's set of 3 parameters, simply produces a 31-16 record for 65%. Winners 27.8 units, which basically means the $100 bettor has made about $2,800 betting these 3 parameters when they become qualified and valid. Better yet, over the last 3 years, it's 21-9 for 70%. And I am not afraid of the betting gods anymore. And I'm 19-6 the last 25 in Major League Baseball for 76% winners. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So I am on the. I don't care if the Marlins are plus 220. I've been doing this too long. Like plus 220, in an NFL football game. Plus 220 would be like plus 4.5, right? Plus 5. Not even that. Plus 4.5 would be plus 220. So in the NFL, you ask somebody, are you afraid of taking a favorite at 4.5? Of course they are. But in baseball, for some reason, anything over minus 200, the public thinks, oh my God, that's a lock. That team's going to kill the other team. And it's not true. It's just not true. And the Mets can't hit. And until they prove to me that they can hit for more than one game, I will take the Marlins with the superior bullpen, too, by the way.
Yeah, great bullpen.
Vastly superior.
If the Marlins could hit, then you'd have a game, right?
Well, I mean, somebody will win 1-0 or 2-0.
Somebody will, yeah, they will. I agree. Somebody will win.
But I have to say, Tony Finn, that was a great call on that home plate umpire with Tampa Bay last night, because I would have never known that. And the bread box analogy, that was perfect. And it's exactly what you saw.
If it was,
Yep.
That whole, let me just say this so we can answer. That whole crew, by the way, that Jerry Meals crew is pitcher friendly. They typically crews are, basically, bird in bush, bird in hand, chip off the old block, that kind of, the adage, that adage.
Well, it was a tough. I mean, how about just under? Of course, I think I bet the only game where the underdog didn't win at a huge price. There was probably a couple others, but underdogs kind of cleaned up last night.
And there was a lot of them that were plus 200.
Yep.
on the American League side, I think it was almost all of them.
Yeah, Orioles.
Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Baltimore. There was one. That was just my free pick. 3% play, Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean, they get definitely catch a break not having to see Garrett Cole, and they're still a huge underdog. I mean,
yeah.
Maybe. Cole has not been great. Listen, if I see, here's the deal. I hope Nestor Cortez was removed from the starting role tonight, and the starter now is
Gil.
who is
that? Is that
Gil?
Yeah.
I call it Little Gil. It should be L Gil, right? Little
Yeah.
Gil. Little Gil. I sent Nestor an email and said, "Listen, Nestor, you need to take a picture of this right here. Send him an image of the line minus 300." I said, "Frame it and go ahead and put a $2 win ticket down there at FanDuel or wherever you can get your play in there close to Yankee Stadium, and then don't ever cash the ticket because you ain't never going to be minus 300 again, ever."
Yeah, I mean, that definitely seems even now inflated on the
little bit. Listen, Nestor won for me last time out, but Little Gil, Little Gil deserves to be minus 300 like I deserve to be
pulled
sane.
over.
Well, they bet him down to 230.
Okay. But
That's encouraging.
That's only because of Little Gil. Had it been Nestor Cortez,
The Yankees probably figured we're not going to march another lefty out there against the Orioles because Andrew Heaney got slammed.
I've said that for months now. If Baltimore has a fighting chance, if they have anyone on the mound that's capable of holding the opposition to 4 runs or less through 5 innings, then they're live against a left-hander. You better believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Wells is not terrible. I mean, he's only had a couple starts, but I want to say I feel like I got beat with him last week, and it was like a game where he just kept throwing Miguel Cabrera fastballs down the middle. If he had just avoided him, he probably would have actually ended up pitching a pretty good game. I think that was his last start. Maybe it was Tigers, 6 days ago, and prior to that, I believe it was his first start first actual start of his career, and I think he pitched pretty good. So obviously small sample size, but he's kind of like a soft thrower. He really just relies on location, but he's a lefty. But that I feel like couldn't you guys see that messing with the Yankees? That's not typically the guy that they light up, I feel like. So if he has his location down, he could pitch okay.
My humble opinion.
I don't think they've ever seen him. I don't think they've ever seen him because he's only had maybe 3 or 4 appearances.
Yeah, they haven't seen him.
My humble opinion with the Yankees, and it's the same opinion that I had back in May, is that you get a pitcher on the mound that has a heavy sinker that generates a lot of ground balls on a good hitting team like the Houston Astros, for example, and the Yankees are going to lose. Why? Because of the stupid launch angle. I guarantee you in the next couple of years that will be a fad, and oh boy, that experiment didn't work. And like Tony Finn says about the owners, there was a launch angle? When was the launch angle era?
I hope
I didn't know
John.
that.
I'm so sick of baseball what it's become at this point. I miss actual baseball when teams used to steal and hit and run and hit behind runners and try to manufacture runs. This is just it's why to be honest,
exactly.
I prefer watching the Korean game because they still actually play real baseball.
If I was a pro baseball player, I would probably be hazed like a fraternity freshman. But when I have a hole that you could drive 17 tractor trailers through because of a shift, where do you think I would hit the ball?
Yeah, right. I mean,
and would I be humiliated by I was a wimp, I hit it through that big hole that they gave me, and I don't understand why it doesn't get done. Anyway,
you have to be able to hit the ball through the hole. You have to be able to direct the baseball, and that's not taught anymore.
So you want to know?
Right? There's not one of 30 teams that have that as an organizational philosophy. Not one.
But I will say this, Rob: if you go to the World Series of recent years, it suddenly shifts. And the Giants. When was the last time they won?
2015.
Yeah, that's the one that sticks out to me because if you watch the highlights,
14, right?
14 maybe.
Yeah,
they were on that either even or odd number.
Even I think
pattern.
It was 2010, 12, and 14, but that's going off memory.
That team hit opposite field the whole series, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Man on first, opposite field, and it didn't matter whether it was a left-handed batter or a right-handed batter. And why do you want to do that, the chat room asks? Because it keeps your bat in the strike zone longer so that if a guy throws a changeup and you're fooled, you still have a chance to either hit it or foul it off. If you're using a launch angle, you're not going to hit it. Not going to hit it.
Situational hitting is no longer even part. I mean, you don't. I don't understand it. I like I said, I throw bitch pitches at managers all the time.
What is the single most stressful situation for a starting pitcher or any pitcher in a game?
It's supposed to be a runner on third, less than 2 outs, right? That's
first and third and any outs.
Okay.
Barry Bonds up. Yeah. Barry Bonds up.
First and third.
First base,
not bases loaded.
Open. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, nobody's in motion.
And they don't do that anymore.
I heard.
Well, Bryce Harper stole second, was advanced to third, and then he stole home the other week. When was the last time that stuff happened?
It shouldn't have ever happened. First off,
right,
because Bryce Harper can't even. He's not supposed to be stealing second, yet alone third or home.
But that's the IQ part. He saw the opportunity with a right-hander that was looking right at him.
Mm-hmm. And
I heard a cool, I guess you could call it a stat last night when I was watching the Giants broadcast, and it kind of like makes a lot of sense. So the Giants by far lead the league in, I don't even know what to call it. I guess you would call it like shift effectiveness, for lack of a better term. Like they've recorded more outs via their shift than any other team in the league. And so it's like kind of goes back to what John is saying, that if teams are going to shift on you, but you can't, it's like theoretically these are pro hitters, you should be able to hit around a shift. But the Giants are shifting as effective as any team in the league. It's probably like not a surprise that their record is what it is at this point. Like, it's less surprising now hearing that they are where they are. Whereas, like, to me, coming into the season and then looking at what the Giants are, it's like mind blowing that they have the record that they have.
I have two things to say on that, and it's a benefit of Tony Finn, and then I'm going to let Rob Veno have the floor to do his free pick, to be fair, because I realize I am talking way too much. But, Adam, if you factor out that they are in the National League West and that the manager for the LA Dodgers is named Roberts, their effectiveness would probably be not as effective if the Dodgers didn't have a manager named Davey Roberts. And I say that tongue-in-cheek, but, Tony, it took me 3 hours of my database running continuously to find a positive thing for you to go to sleep on tonight about Mr. Roberts.
Okay.
And it applies to tonight's game.
He bought Girl Scout cookies last week.
Well, he bought Girl Scout cookies in a home game.
Good man.
After allowing no more than one run in a win over a division rival, he is 36-6.
What's that?
But,
what was that again?
But what's wrong with that trend?
I don't know the trend was. I missed it. Say it.
In home games, after allowing no more than one run in a win over a division rival, he's 36-6. What's wrong with that trend is he has nothing to do with the win. He's just sitting there. He's just.
What's wrong with the trend is I don't understand the trend.
After a game against a divisional rival,
right? See, I know that. Here's
by one run.
Where is the bookmaker involved in that trend?
Yeah,
he's not. He's not.
That's the only trends I've.
But that's the only good one I could find on Davey Roberts.
That was nice of you to dig that up, Davey.
Yeah.
Davey should probably give you part of his salary for doing that for him because
he retweeted me. He did retweet me.
There you go.
I was appreciative. So, Rob Veno, it's your turn now to have the floor, and I promise to put duct tape over my mouth.
You're the host of the show. You do whatever you want, John.
Oh, I'm a different type of host. I like sharing the wealth as much as possible.
I am only going to pass it on to Tony Finn anyway because I didn't play a single game on this card tonight. I didn't find one. I didn't like one. The clients didn't get one. I haven't bet one. So there's nothing for me to talk about except for what a bad day it's been for Andrew Cuomo, Jeff Gladney, and the Indianapolis Colts. Yikes. Those people are having far worse days than we are.
Yes,
so,
sir.
I will.
Yeah, Wentz is in trouble, huh?
Wentz is,
the whole left side of the line is gone now. So the sound you hear every 5 seconds is people ripping up Colts futures tickets.
Yes. Well, they shouldn't do that because there's a damn good chance you can probably sell it back to them right now for a couple cents.
Well,
yeah,
I saw that
does that takes back your losers.
What's that?
There's a sports book out there that like
yes, absolutely they do.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Losers.
It's like blackjack. It's like basically surrendering, and they'll give you a price on surrendering. Before especially before the regular season.
Well, you know what, Tony? To that effect, I did surrender on a Denver Nuggets future bet.
There you go.
When Jamal Murray went down, and you know what? They gave me full price.
They gave you full price?
Yeah, it was a 9-1. I think they were plus 900, and they gave me every bit of plus 900 back. I did it within about an hour of when Murray was.
Wow.
They probably, maybe they weren't prepared
then.
They
gave it to me, so I was appreciative. But the Colts season over. I guess you can cash out. I guess if that's part of the sports book that you have, cash out price. Cash out.
Well, some books do it. You know, some it's. I think it's good business to do that. I just think it's good business.
It's a cool wrinkle that some of these books have for sure.
There's one where you don't even have to worry about your plus 1.5, Adam. If you're up by 4 or 5 runs, they automatically pay you because you're up 5 runs in a game.
I need to find that book.
Yeah, I just heard that the other night. I said, "What are you, crazy? If a team gets up by 5 runs, bingo, you're paid."
Yeah,
there's certain things.
I'm curious as to what is that. I've heard of that before. I thought it was like a book that was hard to access either in this country. I don't know if it was like a European book or what it is, but
yeah, it's a crazy gimmick. I'll tell you that. It'll get you hurt.
Definitely is.
But back to the complaints about hitting against a shift. I know that Rod Carew, Wade Boggs, those guys aren't walking through the door anytime soon. Of course, they would be shifted anyway. But, I'm just thinking in my head while you guys were talking about that. Dave Magadan is still a base coach in this league. And it must kill a guy like Dave Magadan who sprayed the ball all over the field to sit there and have to watch guys like, and I'm a Dodger fan, but you sit there and you watch Max Muncy, Cody Bellinger, any lefty with power just try to hit it through a 5-man shift. They're trying to hit it through it rather than, So it's no wonder the Giants, lead the league in shift effectiveness. That's a great.
Well, there's also situational hitting and run, and Dodgers are right there with the Pirates and the Diamondbacks on leaving runners in scoring position.
You know what? Houston's up there too. They're like 4th worst, but it's because they put so many guys on. They make a lot of contact, but they put so many guys on base.
Yes. Yeah, and that's listen. A lot of people argue that's why the Dodgers are there too. However, you see, they strike. The Houston doesn't strike out.
Oh, well.
Right. It's like almost like a misleading stat in some respects, because I think I want to say for a long time this year, and I would have to pull it up, but like the Rockies were way up at the top of the league in like that base run stat. Like basically like the Rockies cash in on their opportunities, but they don't create many opportunities. So it's like you'd obviously rather have. You'd rather have. Well,
you would, but
you think it's hard to look at it. Like obviously, the Rockies aren't. Aren't.
Here's what it doesn't tell you,
like,
Adam. Here's what it doesn't tell you, and if you see it, I watch it every night, and I watch it every day. Every time I turn on a baseball game, almost every time is a little bit. It's a little bit fatal. It's a little fatalistic. I mean, it's just not always. So that said, here's the deal. You're up by 1 run. It's the 8th inning. Or 7th inning or 8th inning in there, and you get the bases loaded and nobody out. And as Rob said earlier, the philosophy. Listen, it's just not. It's Moneyball on steroids. Not only do you not bunt, not only do you not give away an out, you certainly don't sacrifice or try to hit a fly ball, or you swing for downtown. And the Dodgers will strike out 3 times with the bases loaded. Up 1 run in the 7th inning with Jansen warming up. So Listen, that's something I would commit suicide over as a Dodgers fan more than once, probably. That's death in the worst way.
It's equivalent to NBA basketball, where some teams don't even allow you to shoot a mid-range shot. It's 3-pointers or nothing. So when these kids come up in AAU. They're 14, 15, 16. All they learn is to dunk or shoot a 3. It's hard to correct that once you get into the league. And even at the, at rookie ball or A ball, wherever the ball players go once they're drafted. I mean, it's hard to correct that. All these travel teams are not teaching bunt, sacrifices, situational hitting.
Yeah,
Nobody
none.
cares. These
What's
kids
the three?
don't even know what it is.
What are the three most common results at the plate?
Yeah, walk, strike
What
out,
are
and
they?
run.
That's correct.
And there you go. But if you want to see a team, I mean, there's a couple out there that at least one aspect of the game and trying to build runs still exists. The Padres run like crazy. They run more than anybody. They get a guy on first, and they're going. So I forget there's an American League team.
The Giants executed a perfect safety squeeze up 10-8 in extra innings last
that
night.
one.
So it's
let me tell you right now.
Was it a safety squeeze or suicide?
It wasn't suicide. It was safety. He didn't take off until contact was made, and the thing is, the bunt was perfect. And even if you don't hit that bunt perfect, it's one of the most. It's almost defenseless. It's almost you cannot defend that. And why it's not done more is because two reasons. One, because Dave Roberts is scared to death to tell his star player, his MVP, that he has to bunt because he's afraid of what he's going to be said to him when he gets back to the dugout. These, I'm not going to go there, but Dave Roberts is one of those guys that's really, as Gabe would say, the players love Dave Roberts. He is a player's coach. He is loved by his players. Here's the problem: my kids love me. I know they love me, but I didn't. Let me tell you something. I had a few of them I had to kick in the ass. There's some I had to pat on the back. Some I had to tell them how good they were when they weren't very good. And there's other ones I had to tie them and torture them to get them to listen. And that's just sometimes you have to tell somebody something they don't want to hear.
Yeah,
and Dave Roberts does not do that.
Well, that's definitely has to be going through their heads. Just look at the whole Kevin Cash thing in the World Series last year. Like, I don't know if I agree with him. Snell was pitching great, but he managed the same way all year. It was absolutely a point of emphasis for him to avoid.
Dave Cash doesn't give a shit what the player thinks about him.
He died, Dave Cash.
But what I'm saying is
there was a Dave Cash for the Phillies.
I'm sorry, Dave.
But what I'm saying is Kevin Cash ended up having to endure a ton of criticism for that decision.
Wow, that's okay. He didn't care about that either. That's their job to.
Right, but I get what you're saying. I was agreeing with you, Tony. I do think it would be a hard thing for them to do to go to a star and be like, hey, we need you to, we're just going to need you to lay one down here. Even though it's probably the right baseball player.
It's not just Dave Roberts. It's not just Dave Roberts. I mean, there's not a Yankee who bunts. For what it's worth, there's really not an Astro who bunts. You're going to tell Alex Bregman, Yordan Alvarez, Jose Altuve go up there and bunt. None of them are going to do it. It's league wide. It doesn't just apply to Roberts.
There are things for you guys.
It goes back. I mean, it's interesting to see how good a team like the Giants is because they don't really have. They kind of don't have those big type of star sort of ego guys on the team really, and they're that shift stat and the fact that they're still doing things like safety squeezes and stuff like that. I mean, it's starting to make sense why their record is what it is based on what they were on paper coming into the season.
Listen, Gabe Kapler is a different animal. He's closer to the A. He is just. Listen, he's not afraid of anything. A player, nobody can do anything to Dave. He's not. Gabe. I don't think that Gabe's afraid of the general manager. Gabe goes to the. He beats. Whatever you want to call it to this different drummer, and he still looks like he could play. And when he talks, I think they listen too.
Don't you think it's because he is the ultimate Moneyball manager, which was not accepted in Philadelphia, and now players are buying into it because unlike the NFL football coaches that look at their grid and, oh, wait, it says to go for 2, and it's not, he's actually showing them why they're doing what they're doing. Yeah. That's my theory.
Yeah, but when
Right.
you break them down at the core, guys, it's all cute to talk about that, but that team is number one in Major League Baseball. Over 52% of their runs come off of home runs.
That's correct.
Period.
That's
End of
right.
story.
That's true.
And the
That's
next closest team is 47. And when you look at the Giants lineup, you don't really
True.
see a batch of home run hitters, but you see these guys having career years. Where did Brandon Crawford come from all of a sudden?
Buster
Austin
Posey.
Slater, Buster Posey. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of old guys on this team. Longoria was having a good year before he got hurt. But in all honesty, they're winning off of home runs, and they're winning off of three pitchers, starting pitchers, that have been mediocre their entire career until now. Now we're seeing Gosman start to fade a little bit. Adam talked about DeSclafani betting against him last night, which I totally endorse because he's going backwards as time goes on. And Alex Wood is about to go backwards.
You know, Rob, I like, and I haven't even decided if I'm going to do it or not, but like the Diamondbacks are probably a decent bet again tonight because Cueto's probably on that same, you can get plus 1.5 at like minus 110. Bumgarner's been better. Like Cueto's probably going in the same direction too. Giants keep mixing and matching well in their bullpen too. Like that's another thing that's just like, it's not like they have dominant relievers, but Kapler just seems to push the right buttons like every single night. It's weird.
Yeah, because he's got a two-headed closer even. He doesn't even really have a closer.
No.
But everything's just clicked for that team, and some of those things like the home run percentages, it just doesn't make any sense, right? There's nothing logical about looking down 30 Major League rosters and saying, man, the Giants are going to lead the league in percentage of runs scored by the home run. It just doesn't make sense. And you wonder, at least in my case, I've wondered for 3 weeks, when is this going to wear out? When is it going to run out, this genie bottle or whatever it is they're carrying around? But they keep winning. They just keep winning. So, I don't know. And in the case of the Seattle Mariners on the other side, guys, I think I saw last night that they actually lead the league in batting average with runners in scoring position. So somebody made the point a little while ago that there's a team that doesn't create a lot of opportunities, but they score runs when they do. Seattle, again, I mean, are they really that good of a hitting team that they're that clutch?
Aren't they still last in the league in team batting average? Which means
it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can find them anywhere from third to last down in about 6 offensive categories. If you and you wonder, you scratch your head and say, how does this keep happening? But somehow it can't go on forever.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And we'll have to see.
Well, and to Cueto's defense, Cueto's been. He's really their innings eater. They're serviceable guy. Listen, he's got about a 3-4 since April. Since the end of April, I think he's at about 60% quality starts and pitching to a 3.5 ER, which is for Giants for the back end of what the top 3 guys have done. He's and being the veteran and being able to do the Luis Tiant shuffle. And really change angles and change release points. He's one of those guys that he's not. Listen, he's never going to wow anybody at his age and what he has left. However, his savvy, his IQ is over the top. So he's he's a guy that will come out of the pen. He'll come out of the pen for maybe one batter or a situational righty on righty when it comes to postseason time. That's all he'll be doing. If he makes the roster.
I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Back to the reason why we don't bunt at the major league level. I just kind of gave away the example or the answer. Shit. Butcher boy.
Bunting.
The term is butcher boy. Does anybody know what that is? Butcher boy.
Yeah, it's when you fake the bunt and you swing away. You're
there you go.
About halfway. Pitchers used to do it all the time.
Yep. There you go.
Especially, hitters used to do it too when the third baseman would come halfway down the line.
Right. And make them think about it the next time.
You better believe it.
And in NCAA softball, that's legal. At the collegiate, butcher boy, they can fake bunt. And you know how close those third basemen are?
Yes.
To whom? I mean, they're close enough to begin with.
Yep.
But they're not. They never act scared. It's pretty impressive, actually.
It's not a nuclear weapon.
All right. It ain't wood bats, Tony, and it's aluminum bats, and that ball, even though it's bigger, comes off that bat in a hurry.
Listen, I would rather get hit by a softball than a golf ball. The bigger it is, the better to get hit by it, I think, unless it's a cannonball. Well, I take it back.
Did you ever get hit by a golf ball?
Have I ever been hit by a golf ball? I got struck by lightning by a golf ball.
Oh, my God.
Wow. I mean, that's like the movie The Natural.
That's another story.
But guess what? I mean, I have to say this because I know
I've been hit by golf balls. Yes,
I know my sons are watching this. I did get hit by a golf ball on Sunday. First time in my life. And I hope the guy who hit me, who's hit me is listening.
Why?
Well, he hit a ball, and it wasn't a good shot. So then he drops another ball. My drive is, of course, further than his. And I'm on the left side of the fairway, and I walk out to the end of the fairway there to get my ball. I have my back to him. All of a sudden, I hear click.
Did you hear 4?
And then it was like a knife going through flesh. And luckily, my right foot was off the ground and it hit the back of my Achilles tendon. And initially, it swelled up like you can't even believe. But, hey, I'm a gamer. I'm here today getting it done, right? But I'll tell you, when it first happened, I thought, oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I've been hit in the head by a golf ball. It hurt. That was the best place to hit me.
I was wondering what that knob was on the side of your head all these shows.
Well,
is that from that?
Dr. Frankenstein tried to help me a little bit once. Yeah.
All right, so
I've been hit by a lot of golf balls, especially after I've topped one at the driving range and I run out there to grab my ball so I can hit it again, and then some bitches don't even stop for it.
Well, they should have signs up there saying that this could happen if you venture out into the driving range area. There's no sign that tells you that.
It says, "Listen, beware of the Tony Finn crossing."
How? Yeah, I mean, seriously, they should put up something. I mean, not everybody knows that. I mean, not everybody knows what a shank is.
Well, I know what a shank is, and she lives next door.
I do get nervous at the driving range where there's a guy next to me, and all of a sudden you hear the ball hit, and then it hits the wood side 2 feet from where he's standing in a direct 90-degree angle the wrong way. That gets my attention. But yeah, I'm thrilled to death to say I got hit by a golf ball.
It hurts.
It did. It hurt a ton. I didn't swear. I think because I was at my son's country club and I really wanted to swear.
Didn't you know that when you swear, it really there's some endorphins that release and it makes your pain less?
Never knew that. So I should have just let it go instead of internalizing.
I read it. Must be true.
Yeah. I'll double check with Rob Veno after the show because he guides me. He guides me.
Balls?
About the pain level.
Yeah, the cussing helps reduce pain level. It releases some, when you're able to speak freely and, and forever not hold your peace. Those kind of things.
I was walking around like some of those NBA players though that are acting like they just got hit by a truck and then you watch the instant replay and they didn't. But I was told that's how I looked.
We don't want to get on there because listen, Andy is a soccer player. And I will talk. And I said, the basketball players and soccer players flop better than anybody I've ever. I mean, it's incredible. They're practicing for their second career, which is acting.
Yeah, it's sort of an art in soccer.
It is. There's definitely there's some guys that are really good on the basketball court. For certainly, I watch more basketball, but
I think it ranks up there with the ballet. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to the ballet, Tony?
Not that I remember or not that I would admit, I think. One of those two.
Have you ever seen a play in New York City?
Once in college, and I'm not proud of it.
Like Eugene O'Neill, for example?
No, I have never seen a play. I've never been to an opera. I've never been to ballet. And I'm quite certain that I'm missing a large portion of the culture that I really need, where I
know you like
golf balls and don't cuss, which hell, I cuss when I drop something.
Well, you Cliff Notes, so get the Eugene O'Neill, The Iceman Cometh, and I guarantee you will like it.
Jack's brother?
It could be, but you get the Cliff Notes. I'm not giving any hints. You read it, and it'll take you probably half an hour, and then you tell us tomorrow on the show what you thought. And you'll love that play. Love it. All right, Max on record is here. What was the best bet record yesterday? Max, you missed 1 day. He missed 1 day. We were 3-0, Max. Next question.
Next question. I'm trying to investigate Madison Bumgarner plus a run and a half at plus $1 for Adam tonight. Jesus. If only I could. If only I could get beyond that bullpen. And you know, my oldest son is a avid Diamondbacks fan, so I watch this team with him religiously, and it's just that. We laugh at it all the time.
That's a great father when you think about it. The Diamondbacks, and he supports his son's team. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, the kid grew
and
up
the Missouri
awesome.
Tigers. And the Missouri Tigers.
Well, my youngest went to Missouri, but. You know, my kids were born in Las Vegas. There's no pro team in Las Vegas. The Diamondbacks.
Yeah, it's kind. I guess it kind of is the Diamondback. I mean, that would be like probably the team that would be considered the local team. I don't know. Like, would you agree with that, Rob? At least.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's
Dodgers are pretty close.
California teams that are close as well. That's why Las Vegas is blacked out of
Dodgers.
Right.
There's more Dodgers fans.
Yeah, but
here
you
than
can't.
anything.
For the longest time, you could never watch a Dodgers game out in Vegas, or it would be
You
really
can't
hard.
still.
Yeah.
You can't.
They're all blacked out. Everything out there. But when it was Bank One Ballpark in Phoenix back in the late '90s, and take my oldest son there, the kids there. So I mean, he just grew up that way. But my God, when I see J.B. Bukowskis and all these guys marching, and it just ay.
Yeah, but the bullpen ERA was much lower. Has been much lower since the All-Star break.
They've been on a good. Yes, you're absolutely right. And Noe Ramirez has been really good for them. If I could single one guy out,
Soria has been decent. He's been pretty solid. I thought.
And then they traded him away.
Oh, they traded him. Yeah, that's right. That's who they traded. So you're right, Ramirez, and there's been one other guy that's come out, and I can't remember. I think Bukowskis gave up the bomb last night that put them behind the 8 ball. I think
it's always one of them. I mean, we make fun of Joe Mantiply, my son and I, but his numbers aren't horrendous.
He might have been the one I was trying to think about, where he just keeps coming in and getting outs.
His numbers have been pretty good. But boy, if they could give me one, I mean, I may try Bumgarner tonight plus a run and a half at plus $1.
I haven't ruled it out yet. It's probably, if I was going to add a second, that's probably what would be it. I got to see if I can stomach dealing with that team again after last night. But
that happens all year long with that team. The bullpen that stressed the most tonight is got to be Miami's. Miami, I mean, Bass has pitched 3 straight days. Floro threw back-to-back. Bender has thrown 4 and 5, and it would be back-to-back.
That's another reason.
That's why they're plus 220.
Another reason I liked Arizona so much last night is because all those Giants relievers pitched all weekend against the Astros. But the Giants managed to get it done last night and not really use any of their good relievers. So that would be one thing that might keep me off Arizona tonight. Is San Francisco is going to have all their top arms back.
Yeah. All of a sudden, in the 7th inning, you become a $3 underdog with the Diamondbacks bullpen.
Yeah.
You guys had asked about bullpen ERA over the years, and I have this really neat database that is just omnipotent. So you have to go back the top 22 worst bullpens in the last since 2004. I have to go back 22 of rankings to get to a team that was not in 2019, 2020, or 2021. Understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the Red Sox in 2020. Now this is bullpen run allowed because I have statistically proven that bullpen ERA is a bunch of crap. If you're in a game and a player makes an error, it's a run allowed, and you're on the hook. So, 3.3 runs per game by the bullpen of the Boston Red Sox last year is the number 1 worst bullpen on the list. Followed by the National League Rockies in 2020, 2.82.
Yeah.
Are you interested to know who the best is?
From last year?
No, since 2004.
Oh, since 2004, best bullpen in the league since 24.
Oh man. In 2015, Kansas City Royals.
It's 1 year. Okay.
Boy, that's pretty good, Tony Finn. That's that's 15th. That's 15th out of. Well, think about it. I'm doing National League, American League, and 30 teams.
It may be a National League team, simply because they get to face pitchers. But
you're right. It's a National League team, and in fact, the 2 top teams are National League.
There you go.
Here's the Braves. The Atlanta Braves, .87.
Oh, really?
2013.
2013.
Well, that's because their starters would go 8 innings. They only had to pitch an out,
Well, that's to their credit.
Yeah.
And then you wanted to know strikeouts per game, of course, with the launch angle. 2020, Tampa Bay Rays struck out an average of 10.35 times a game.
They still struck out.
Who was the second?
Yes, they do.
Who was the second NL team? Was it the Giants?
The Reds.
The Reds.
Yeah.
Wow.
In 2011. 2011.
That wasn't the Nasty Boys then.
It wasn't the Nasty Boys yet. 1990.
Yeah, no.
So, Tony Finn, you are right. The Rays hold the 2 top spots for most strikeouts per game.
Yes.
And the last 2 seasons. Then we have the Brewers in 2020 at 9.93. And again, I have to, because of this asinine launch angle. Did A-Rod use a launch angle? No. He did not use a launch angle.
He used steroids.
Yeah, but he used the Charlie Lau swing. What did Charlie Lau teach?
No, Charlie Lau's, that's no one teaches that.
Right.
No one.
They should.
Well, yeah, well, they had some of the best hitters ever, or under the tutelage of Charlie Lau. Yeah.
George Brett.
Yes.
Tony Gwynn. Rod Carew.
Charlie Lau was one of the best.
Yeah. So now I have
20,
to go.
20 home runs for George Brett was, George Brett could hit 40 home runs. He could hit, but guess what? 20 home runs, 300, 340, 350, 20 home runs, 100 RBIs was every year was good enough to get in the Hall of Fame. You think?
Yeah, and that park was designed for gaps.
Yes,
Both of
it
those
was.
Missouri parks, St. Louis and Kansas City in the 80s, they were designed that way.
Speed.
A lot of speed. Willie Wilson.
And Whitey Herzog was all about speed.
Until
Always.
Vince Coleman got caught in the tarp.
Yeah.
So the team that's 2005, Billy Bean Athletics, 5.07 strikeouts per game, and that makes sense to me because that's what Moneyball is all about.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Walks, station to station, not stealing bases, and not giving away outs. No bunting.
Boy, and in those early 2000s, that was a thing. I mean, the Yankees organizationally, they preached running up starting pitchers' pitch counts, get them out of there before the 6th inning. The Red Sox used to be really good at that, but that's kind of disappeared too. You don't see these teams trying to run up pitch counts anymore.
What irritates me, I have to run, guys. I'm going to run, but what irritates me more than a pitcher has come in, he's thrown 8 straight balls, walked 2, and the next guy comes up, swings at the first pitch, and rolls into double A. It's like, who's taught you anything about baseball? Have they taught you anything about baseball?
Yeah, Tony, I saw that happen. I want to say it was either yesterday or Sunday, and it was the exact scenario.
It's crazy.
Guy threw 6 or 7 straight balls. First pitch, pop up to the center fielder. No big deal. Easy out. Can of corn.
Yep.
It's crazy.
All right, before we go, Tony, we're going to recap the best bets, but you have a question.
Let Tony give one. Tony, give us one.
Yeah, that's right.
We want Tony to give us one.
You want to.
Yeah, and it can't be. Max on record is asking you about any dating pointers for his nephew, so that can't be a free pick. That cannot be your free pick.
Dating pointers. I give him some dating pointers.
Wow.
Get him. Yeah. In fact, I'll send you that book I wrote on. Never mind. Maybe not for your nephew, but for you, Max.
Oh, boy.
First things free pick, and then my next book is how to be politically incorrect and not get shot. Okay, now free picks. Let's do this. We're gonna go with the Philadelphia Phillies for the second day in a row.
Oh.
Yes.
When you go to the Philadelphia Phillies minus 1.5.
Okay.
At about it'll be right at least minus 105, minus 110 probably is what you're going to have to lay there.
10 cents. Yep.
And it's for. And I'm just going to say I'm going to give you 3 reasons why. 3 reasons. The first reason is we're going to look back at what the Phillies did last night in a game that they were outplayed. They should have lost, and we got to then they got to the Nets bullpen, and it was game set match after that. And then when they were able to score, long story short is when they were able to, then they gave it away. And do we have to go to Ian Kennedy? Never mind. Fly ball pitchers with 95 mile per hour exit velocity, right there with Lee Trevino. Pros that puff for pars and dogs that chase cars don't last long in their profession. And the Phillies are going to look back and say, this was the game. That was the game that the Mets lost. We're 2.5 games out of first place, and we're getting ready to go into a weekend series. That will be the game that when the season ends, the Phillies close. I think they close with Atlanta. The last series is with Atlanta. Then Atlanta gets the Mets or something like that. But those 3 teams, the Mets, the Phillies, and the Braves, have kind of played that triangle to close the season. The last 3 days in September and the first 3 in October. It's going to be fun. But when they win the NL East, they can look back and say, it's because of that night. Because I think they're going to start hitting the ball better. I think they're going to bunch hits. I think they're going to be less harperish. And the second variable, that is that Wheeler is the better pitcher. And while that's not the end all to winning baseball games, it is when you look at what Corbin has done. Listen, first off, Corbin's career is on the backside of a steep slipper slide, a wet and wild ride. And look at July. He has not struck out. He has not equaled the number of strikeouts per innings pitched or exceeded them. And for the most part, early this year, even being pedestrian, he at least once or twice equaled his innings pitched or exceeded. He struck out 9 in a game. My point is this: he's striking out 2 and 3 batters right now in 6 innings, and his exit velocity, his hard contact, his quality contact is hard contact. The quality goes to the hitter, and he's not the same guy. He doesn't miss enough bats. First off, the 5.78 ERA he owns isn't that bad. It's 4.5. I think it's a 4.54 xFIP. But while there's some positive regression, it's not against the Phillies. It's not against the Phillies, and it's not going to be better than 4.5. Corbin now is the ace. If you look at the depth charts, he's the ace of the Washington Nationals, who really are in the last 30 days, believe it or not, guys, they've hit the ball pretty well. But they've traded away some guys now. Their pitching is horrendous in the bullpen, and their starting pitching is either injured or somewhere lost on the farm, and they can't find them. This Washington team will absolutely be a play against. There's 4 or 5 teams that are play against. The Phillies are a play on. And if it's Corbin against Wheeler, it's minus 1.5. All things equal, if these teams are played just average baseball tonight, the Phillies win by 5.
I love it.
There you go.
Absolutely love it.
So and I got to go, and I really appreciate the opportunity to speak about Dave Albert.
We're going to be done in a minute. We're going to be done in a minute.
All right.
Listen,
so your free pick.
Yep.
And Rob, what was your free pick?
But let me just say that the Phillies have had a game like last night 3 times in the last 7 days. Last Monday, Gene Segura hits a home run in the bottom of the 9th off Brad Hand, and I'm thinking that might be the game they look back at. Then they lose 2 games in a row. They come back the second game of a 7-inning doubleheader. They're getting beat 7-0 in the third inning. They come all the way back and win in extra innings. And I'm thinking, wow, that might be the game. Then you know what they do? They go out and they lose 2 more games. And then they come back last night and do it all over again. It's crazy. They've had 3 of those games in 7 days. Talk about a roller coaster team, Jesus.
Yeah.
If they didn't win those games, guys, if they didn't save their necks with those 3 games, and those are save your neck games, they're 7 games out right now. They're not even close.
I want to throw in one really quickly, and I know this. I'm the one that has to go, but I want to throw this in too. I'm going to throw in a double dip free pick. I'm going to throw in.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm going to throw in. I'm going to do this, and this is based on a lot of things. Max Fried has struggled with his curveball, his best pitch this year. Okay, and much of it has to do with guess what?
The sticky stuff.
He got hurt early in the season too, and he hurt a hamstring, and and he really worked on his release point. And then he came back and it was really strong. And if you look at him, he gets a St. Louis Cardinals team that can't hit. I don't care what you say. They can't bunch 3 hits together if their life depended on it. And they bring Lester in, and they actually do you actually buy in? If you're a Cardinals fan out there right now, are you buying that this front office thought that Lester and Happ were going to be able to put them over the hump?
Trying not to
I'll
laugh.
tell you what a hump those two. You know what I'm going to say, and that is, here it is. The price on this is stupid. $1.25, $1.30 on Max. What? Don't look now. Atlanta's 3.5 games out of first place.
Yep.
Don't look now. They're not the healthiest team, but don't look now. Ian Anderson has the best spin rate still, not using tack, in baseball. And he's a young kid who can pitch. They can pitch. And even without their best player, they've done what they needed to do during the break to stay competitive with a bat, too. Don't look now.
Tony, real quick before you leave, because I wanted to ask you this from the time we started the show and I forgot.
Okay.
Max Fried.
Yes.
How come every single time this guy has a turn in a rotation, they fade this guy or they don't bet him? I'm looking at that line this morning saying, holy shit, they won't bet Max Fried again with John Lester on the mound. Why are they so dead set against this guy?
It's funny you asked that because I had a conversation with the beat writer this morning about this very thing, and that is 2 things. First off, they'll bet him. If you ask the weekend warrior right now who John Lester is and you ask who Max Fried is, you will be shocked how many people don't know who Max Fried is.
But Sharps do.
Well, Sharps do, and the Sharps will keep this on. But for the most part, the books have also played into this, where if you look at the opening number on this, listen, I'm opening Max Fried and Lester. I don't care that it's Bush. And look, Atlanta, they hit. Listen, this isn't the same Atlanta team as last year or the year before, who were abysmal against left-handed hitting. Look at what they've done this year. It hasn't been, White Sox like, but over the last couple of years, they can hit left-handers, and they can certainly hit John Lester. And that reason only is the talking to this beat writer who's a gambler and does some work with books, is that's Max. First off, Max has not been his curveball. He outperformed his peripherals to some degree last year. I called him the best left-hander in baseball last year, and he was. You look at his numbers, he was the best. But his curveball, his spin rate on his curve, his best pitch, he's just starting to trust it again because it hasn't been the same. It hasn't been that it has not been that knockout pitch that he had in parts of 19 when he's coming in 20 last year. It just hasn't been. So that said, I think it's a steal tonight. And if you're playing, if Lester's involved in your card, it better be a fade. That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree totally. I just can't. Yeah. I was always wondering why, when these lines open up, money goes against Max Fried or not.
Yeah.
I thought maybe he was a victim of the spider tack, and people thought that. But and Atlanta, real quick, we just talked about, or you did talk about how St. Louis shows their clubhouse. Hey, we've got J.A. Happ and Atlanta went out and got everybody under the sun. They made like seven different moves because they feel like they've got a chance. So at least their clubhouse is You know what, John? I didn't give us anything to contribute to this best bet, but I'm going to piggyback on Atlanta with Tony so you can count me in. I don't see why. I kept thinking there's got to be something health-wise wrong with Fried for nobody to bet him.
Yeah.
But
listen. If you look at what is his last start, I don't know. I glanced at his game log, and he's got some really. I think he pitched 7 shutout innings last game, didn't he? I don't know what it was, but
that's what I remember.
He's had good starts.
Oh yeah, if his curveball is working, listen, guys, his rotation last year or 2020 was Kershaw, was Kershaw's rookie RPMs. His spin rate. Now, I think we all know that all that spin rate, even Kershaw, everybody who has a spin rate like Bowers is using something to gain an edge, and I don't begrudge players for trying to gain an edge over professional hitters, not at all. But I do blame them if they bitch about that rule being enforced now all of a sudden too. You can't have it both ways. So
right.
There you go.
That's true.
Yeah.
Max Fried it is.
So I guess my turn here to wrap things up for us real quick.
Where's
Max
Manny?
on record.
He deserved this?
He had to go potty.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
for that.
I think that's what he said. Or he's buying pot, or he's going to going to the potty, something like that. I'll ask him. I'll ask him after the show.
Pottery.
Where's Andy at? Where's he live at? Andy, where's Andy from?
Adam is
New Brunswick.
Anywhere from Hollywood, Florida to
New York.
Just in New York State, Schenectady.
New York?
Schenectady.
Okay. He's up next to the horse races coming up that are going on right now. The horse races.
Saratoga, right?
Saratoga.
What a
great place, Saratoga, Lake George, that area right now, beautiful. Right now, absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Yep.
We used to vacation there every year. My parents would take us there. Great place.
Yeah.
So to recap what Max on record is asking, he obviously one of the guys that knew, I said that on the show, that Xander Schauffele and Paul Casey were my 2 guys that I thought would win the Olympic gold. Mm-hmm. What I should have done, guys, is remember when I said, this is unlikely that those 2 and Rory McIlroy could be leading after the second round. However, Schauffele led after the second round and never looked back. So I would have never made that bet. You could have told me he was leading at the second round, and it wouldn't have made sense to me. But to answer the question, it was 20-1, and just a little bit more than pizza money. I guess it was probably more like 3 pizzas and a tip. So that was a good one. That one came out of nowhere. And then I just got this actually sent over to me, and I hope you guys don't mind me saying this, but they're running a special deal in my NFL. So apparently, I haven't read this yet, but I think Matt Josephs was number 1 in the NFL or college football. What does it say here? Okay, so he and I are tandem here.
Yeah. I did that last year. I did that with Vegas Chris, LV Chris, and I.
Yeah, well, that's a good combination. I think this is a good combination. I'm honored to be with Matt Josephs. So, what's it say here? But right now, you get both for only $5.99, and I'd have to say that's a pretty good deal. Yep. Yeah. And so I hope I can hit 65% again, like I did last year. We know that that's hard to do, and I got very, very hot the last 6 weeks, like hotter than I think I've ever been in my entire life, to be completely honest. I started out 2-6 in the NFL, 2-6.
Well, that's listen. We got like 18,000 weeks of the NFL now this year. It's going to be,
It's one more week for Las Vegas Chris not to sleep.
Well,
that's how I look at it.
I still there's a column somewhere in the next week or two. What happens? The week 17 is actually just week 16 part 2. Now I'm just not certain. It might be revenues. Here's the deal. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing what was said. What the NFL commissioner said about Game 17. Do I need to quote him?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Would you like me to quote him on this? Okay,
yes. Because
I'm doing a. By the way, everyone, I'm doing a daily column NFL camps. I'm taking all the beat writers, all the notes, and it'll be published in the news. I started yesterday, but you guys, it's your fault I didn't get it done, so I'm doing it today. I have to turn it in still. That said, quoting. Let's quote him.
Yep.
Okay, right? All right, let me
Quote.
find it.
Quote.
Okay, here it is.
Is this Mr. Goodell you're speaking of?
Yes, it is. That's right.
Most intelligent human being on the planet.
It's good to be king. It is good to be king. And
So
so here's
by those guys.
Or a puppet among owners.
I'm trying to find this. I've got to find this quote, sir. Okay, here it goes. Because I put it in the column. Here. Okay, here we go. Oh, here we go. Here it is. Okay. So it isn't a secret. It isn't a secret, first of all, that I'm not a Mr. King Goodell groupie. I am not a groupie. I'm not a fan.
I thought that was a quote.
He reinforced the fact when he told the media following the ratification of the CBA in March that, quote, this is a monumental moment in NFL history. The CBA, with the players and the recently completed media agreements, provide the foundation for us to enhance the quality of the NFL experience for our fans. And one of the benefits of each team playing 17 regular season games is the ability for us to go out and continue to grow our game around the world. And this was said when I think we'd lost about 2, 3, 4 million people to COVID, but this is a monumental moment in NFL history. We've added Week 17. It's embarrassing.
Wow.
Embarrassing.
He's outdone himself.
Yeah. But it's hard to hate him and not the 32
Wow.
owners along with him, though.
No, listen, I don't. It takes way too much energy to hate.
Or
I don't
dislike,
hate.
okay.
Yeah,
Not
I don't.
agree
Yeah,
with
right.
dislike.
But I certainly don't agree, and I don't. He's not a guy. Listen, Roger Goodell is one of the few guys. If he offered to buy me a beer, I'm not certain I would accept. And that's saying a lot for me.
But he may order the beer and then look to you to pay because he only makes $46 million a year, being the puppet of the owners.
Listen, if it's tequila, you're not passing, Tony.
Well, I would listen. No, not the right kind of tequila.
If it's the right kind of tequila.
And a ticket
Rob,
the ticket
you
to
just
believe.
found out that Dave Roberts is to Tony Finn as Roger Goodell is to John Ryan. So we try to not mention Roger Goodell too much this fall, okay?
Well, they boo him relentlessly, all 32 picks in the first round every year.
Calling the ratification of a CBA, of a collective bargaining agreement between millionaire employees and billionaire owners, a monumental moment in NFL in history, is embarrassing.
It's a bit of an embellishment.
Oh, just a little bit. Yeah.
All right, so to recap, we have the Phillies, we have the Marlins, we have the Atlanta Braves as our three best bets. We'll look to go 6-0 tonight. And thank you guys for your time. We'll be back here tomorrow at 4:05 Eastern Standard Time for the Manny's Irish Pub Predictive Playbook. So on behalf of Tony Finn, Rob Veno, myself, WagerTalk.com, SportsMemo.com, may all the wins be yours.